Today we're showcasing a newly refurbished penthouse in central London, valued at £2.5 million. I'm Daniel and this is Ashville. We're in central London, a place with some of the most affluent and desirable postcodes in all the world. We're within a few minutes walking distance from Soho, Marylebone, Oxford and Piccadilly Circus, and 10 minutes from Big Ben, the London Eye and the Houses of Parliament. In London, like with many of the built-up cities around the world, due to space limitations, the only way to build is up. And when creating multiple-storey dwellings, the units on the top floor are always the most sought after, due to their privacy and superior views. Originally, this building was constructed pre-1900. Now, we don't have an exact date for this as there were no records on the land registry, but the top floor was created as an addition to the existing building in 1997 to create a penthouse. The owners of this property purchased in 2007 and made very small alterations while they were getting to know the property and local area. And luckily, when the time came to upgrade and modernize, they contacted us. We're Ashville, a group of companies in the construction sector whose bread and butter work for the past 19 years has been refurbishing, converting, and creating new build homes in and around central London. The owners of this property had a wish list for the spaces and amenities and asked us to help develop these ideas and transform them into a reality. Now we're going to take a walk through room by room and discuss all of the work in fine detail. Because sometimes you walk into a room and think to yourself, this is a nice space, but you can't quite put your finger on why. So hopefully, going into the nitty-gritty detail will help us develop an understanding of what makes a nice space look and feel like a nice space. Then, we're gonna get to the bottom of this £2.5 million valuation and take a close look at the central London property market. We start at the building's secure entrance, which has a porter, and make our way through the communal area to the lift. We had to do a lot of work in these communal areas to ensure that we didn't cause any damage or become a nuisance to any of the other residents. Now we could take the stairs to get up to the apartment, but why would you do that when the lift opens directly into the hallway?
Going up. Going up.
While the refurbishment took place, we protected the lift as we did the rest of the communal areas, but some items were too large and needed to take the stairs. To increase the stakes, most of the items were high value and very fragile, like the large format tiles you're going to see in the bathrooms later. So it took a lot of finessing and manpower to navigate our way around this repetitive ascending gauntlet staircase. We are now in the penthouse. If you did decide to take the stairs, this is the front door. Now it is 915 square foot internally with 460 square foot of an L-shaped terrace with views over the London skyline. It has full air conditioning, home automation and underfloor heating, and it has been rewired, replumbed, and we completely stripped it back to a structural shell and rebuilt exceeding all current building regulations for both fire and acoustics. In the living room, like 3 other rooms in this property, you have access to the terrace. Now, previously there were much smaller openings here with timber windows and doors. In order to upgrade this, we had to get planning permission because we were changing the external look of the building. Now, this took us 4 months to do, and with the new larger openings, we have fitted aluminium windows and doors, which will reduce maintenance, and we let much more natural light into the area while increasing the ease at which you can get out onto the terrace. The previous walls, in my opinion, were not sturdy, so they all needed to be rebuilt. But in doing this, we opened a can of worms because we exposed structural steels without adequate fire prevention. And then while we were doing that, we noticed a lack of acoustic work between this apartment and the apartment below, meaning that every time the owner of this home left and entered a room, our neighbors below would hear it. And finally, the external walls. We saw a lack of insulation and a number of cold spots which needed to be sealed to improve the thermal efficiency of the property. So before any of the fancy finishes, we took it back to basics to get the fundamentals right, starting with the floor builder. Once we removed all of the levels and were down to the 10x2 joists of the flat below, we fitted insulation and then 22mm tongue and groove chipboards. On top of this, we fitted 2x2 treated timber battens and then an 18mm tongue and groove floor. On top of this, we fitted a 19mm acoustic deck, which was not fixed down to limit sound transfer. On top of this, there was underlay, underfloor heating mats, and finally, we fitted an engineered wood flooring, which was 20mm thick and 180mm wide. This was also fitted as a floating system like the acoustic deck below to limit sound transfer. The external walls. After our roof tiles and breathable membrane, we used 6x2 timber with 90mm insulation on top of this. This is an upgrade from the previous 50mm. We taped all of the joints, made a 50mm cavity, and on top of this, we had 2 layers of 12.5mm plasterboard. The build-up of the internal walls in this room was 90mm eye studs, acoustic insulation between the studs, plywood on the living room side to provide a firm fixing for the media unit, and 1 skin of 12.5mm plasterboard on top of this, which was plastered. And on the bedroom side, 2 skins of 12.5mm plasterboard with 2 skins of plaster. We encased all of the steels in 2 layers of 15mm soundboard. Now we do this for 2 reasons. The most important being fire, because in a worst case scenario, we need to help the steels maintain their structural integrity to give occupants a chance to evacuate. The second reason being sound transfer, because steels are actually a fantastic conductor of vibrations. So by encasing them, we limit the sound transfer to other rooms and other properties within the building. Sound transmits through steel beams because steel is a rigid material which is very dense. It conducts sound vibrations and can transmit sound energy through an entire structure. To reduce this and increase fire resistance, we need to insulate the steels to absorb sound energy and encase in specialist plasterboard to dampen. This work not only deadens the sound vibrations, but increases the fire resistance of the steels by up to an hour. Now the engineered wood flooring was finished with an 18mm thick, 4-inch high MDF skirting. Now this was fitted with mitered corners and all of the fixing points sanded and filled to achieve a seamless finish. If you have a look at the ceiling, you can see linear grills. Now this is an air conditioning system which is hidden within the ceiling recess. Now these have been positioned to ensure we have circulation with both an intake and discharge. The lighting in the living room comes from rimless downlights in a white powder coated finish. Unlike conventional downlights, the frame is fitted before plastering so it can be plastered over. This gives a high-end flush finish while still providing powerful illumination. And the feature of the room is this fireplace wall. Now this fireplace is a sealed unit which we've completely boxed in using 90mm I-stud and 12mm cement board which is mechanically fixed. To achieve this Venetian plaster finish, we have applied a base coat, then we've applied another level of render to help prevent cracking, followed by another base layer of color and then 2 finishing coats. The fireplace has been finished in this abstract way to ensure it stands out from the rest of the room and becomes a focal point. On the other side of the fireplace, you can see our 2 steps, which are clad in the same engineered wood flooring and lead us out onto the terrace. As we step out, we can admire the beautiful London skyline. Now we can't actually take credit for that, it was here long before us, but what we did do was remove the old decking system, improve the drainage, and fit this new composite system. Now we went for a composite, which is a man-made blend of wood fibers, plastic, and a protective layer, as opposed to a traditional timber, to try to limit the maintenance for the client moving forward and to give a much wider color palette to choose from. Of the options we gave, the client chose this ivory finish. Now it's important to remember that while the decking looks lovely, its primary functions are to provide a safe walkway and secondly, to allow water to pass so it can be managed by the drainage system below. Now our system sits on top of a slope membrane which it does not penetrate. The water falls between these gaps, is taken to gutters, and these gutters take it to downpipes. We can now take a walk round to the kitchen, but first, let's take a moment to admire our lovely new installed aluminium door. We have a fully fitted handleless kitchen. Now the internals are an 18mm white linen finish, and the doors are an 18mm MDF sprayed in a porcelain super matte finish. The worktop is an Azure Nova. It's 30mm thick and we have downstands on both sides. The splashback, which you can see also fills the base of the window recess, is a 20mm thick Carrara quartz. I'm back outside on the terrace. We actually built this area up and fitted a smaller window than previously, so we could take full advantage of the flat surface internally and remove the previous problem the client had with the bigger window with dust and water. All of the appliances are Miele with the exception of the extractor fan, which is Alica. We have a dishwasher, microwave, oven, warming drawer, gas hob, fridge freezer, and 2 wine coolers. We have 2 wine coolers so we can chill beverages at different temperatures. We start over here with the red wine, which is chilled at 14 degrees. And over here, within this unit, we first have the champagne at the top, which is chilled at 5 degrees. And in the below section, we have white wine chilled at 8 degrees. We have the same lighting and air conditioning features as we have in the rest of the property, but here you can see the access panels we've created for maintenance and servicing. The aircon units for the living room actually sit within the ceiling recess here. When designing and building a home, it's also very important to consider maintenance. Because while a home works around and enhances the lifestyle of its owner, it also needs to be functional. Now in the kitchen, the wall build-up is the same as the media wall in the living room, as we needed ply to create a firm fixing for the kitchen units. But the floor was completely different because, as you can see, we have a large format 1.2 meter by 1.2 meter tile. We needed to create a sub base which was acoustic, solid, and at the same time flexible to ensure the tiles didn't crack. So we took it all the way down to the 10x2 joist of the ceiling of the apartment below and built our way back up. In between these 10x2 joists, we fitted insulation and then an 18mm ton and groove floorboard. On top of this, we had 2x2 treated battens, followed by 18mm plywood and a 12mm jackboard. Then a wired underfloor heating system, self-leveling compound, flexible adhesive, and then the tiles. Into the hallway. Most of our work in this area was the wall and floors. Now the floor height in the lift actually dictated the final floor height in the entire property because we didn't want a step up or down when going in or out of the lift. So we took this dimension and had to reverse engineer and calculate our build-ups accordingly. And you'll notice in this space, we have loads of natural light. This is our XL rounded skylight which was fitted, and looking at it, you can imagine how tedious it was plastering and filling and sanding this area, but if I do say so myself, we have achieved a perfect finish. And speaking of perfect finishes, all of the doors in the property are new with the exception of the front door, as this is a perfectly good security and 60-minute fire door. But to match the existing, we routed lines at the exact dimensions of the rest of the doors and we decorated accordingly. Off to bedroom 1. These timber windows were existing. We altered, filled, sanded, and fit new ironmongery to ensure effortless open and closing. We have the same flooring, skirting, light switches, power sockets, light fittings, air conditioning and decor as the rest of the property. But in here, we can see our bespoke wardrobes which light up when you open the doors. And now into my favorite room in the property, the ensuite of bedroom 1. Three of the walls in this bathroom have a large format tile, which is 1 meter by 3 meter. We have 2 LED lit niches, one in front of the bath and one within the shower. All of the fixtures are a brushed nickel finish. That includes the tap, the toilet flush panel, the bath mixer, the handheld bath shower, the shower mixer, the handheld shower in the shower area, the shower head,
and the towel radiator. We have a completely tanked wet room floor with a linear grille. We have a recessed mirrored LED lit vanity unit above the sink. And above me, you can see a skylight to let natural light in. Now this area historically was a problem for the client, as all the water vapor in the bathroom rushed to this area and continuously damaged it, meaning that every 6 months they had to sand it down and repaint it. In order to solve this problem, we fit all 4 sides with a plastic perspex and completely sealed. We also fitted a larger extractor fan to manage the water vapor in this area, but if the worst happens and water was to collect, it could be wiped down and wouldn't cause any damage. Now we're going to go through floor build-up number 3, because while this area is tiled like the kitchen, it had to be tanked because it is a wet area. Once again, we went down to the ceiling of the flat below, which was 8x4 joists. We fit insulation between these and then 22mm floorboards. On top of this was 2x2 treated timber battens, 18mm plywood, 12mm jackboard, then our tanking system, which was completely sealed. Then we fit the underfloor heating, a self-leveling compound, flexible adhesive, and finally the tiles. The low-level lighting underneath the unit and in these niches are controlled via PIR sensor. So if you need to use the toilet in the middle of the night, you can see where you're going and you are not blinded. Now let's head to the ensuite of bedroom 2. In this bathroom, we have all the features of the previous one, including the satin nickel finishes, with the exception of a bathtub and this feature wall, which is slightly different. This is an oxide verdemin, but is also a 1 meter by 3 meter tile. Once again, we have all of the same fixtures, fittings, finishes, and amenities as the other rooms. However, this bedroom has a sloped ceiling due to the shape of the roof, which has dictated that the bespoke cabinetry had to work around it. Now the bed slots in here, as you can see by our power points and light switches on either side. But we also have a power point on the slope part of the ceiling here, because this is exactly where the client would like to fit a television so they can lie in bed and look straight up. So like the walls in the rest of the property, we fitted ply behind this plasterboard to create a firm fixing. Now, I was about to take you outside onto the roof terrace again, but we need to go and visit the unsung hero of this and most properties, the utility room. This is mechanical and engineering central.
which also doubles up as a laundry room, as we have our Miele washer and dryer. On this side, we have a 200-litre water cylinder to ensure that even if both people who live within the property are showering at the same time, everybody has hot water. We have our fuse board here, and within the ceiling recess, we have transformers. Now, the shutoff for the water and the gas is not within this room, it's in the living room where it comes into the property. However, we have created access panels. So should, in case the worst happen, the client can reach within and shut them off. Also, in this ceiling recess, we have the air conditioning units for both the bedrooms, which are ducted. And this ceiling is different from all the ceilings in the rest of the property. This is something you may see in a commercial setting. We have 60 by 60 grid tiles with LED lighting. Now, we've done this in this area to ensure we have full access to all of the mechanical equipment, should in case the worst happen, or just to service. And if we wanted to run additional cables to other parts of the property, it would make it that bit easier. But we took it one step further, and we have battery backups within these lights. So should the power be taken for the property or a fuse flip, this light would come on without power through its battery pack, and you'd be able to see what you are doing in this area. And now we can go back out onto the terrace. Before we start talking about what we can buy in Timbuktu for 20 quid, and based on the projected value of this property, what we can buy up and down the country or in another country, it's important to understand the UK, and more specifically the central London property market. Now, irrespective of what's going on in the world, historically, central London has managed to maintain its values. And worse ways, if there's a 20% reduction in the rest of the country, it manages to not suffer the same reduction here as a percentage. So the market here has national and global appeal, as it's seen as somewhere where investments are safe. And the square footage and colour of a wall almost becomes secondary to the security of the asset in an uncertain and volatile market. And worse ways, if you are perceived to overpay for a property in central London, the rental yields here are higher than the national average, so you will have a long-term income producing asset. Generally, unless there's a new build with multiple units coming onto the market, homeowners in central London tend to hold on to the properties long-term, creating supply shortages, which create premiums, because like with most sectors, supply and demand is a determining factor in values. Ultimately, a property anywhere in the world is only worth as much as someone is willing to pay for it. And if we're going to value a property, where do we even start? And if a property is already valued, how can we determine if that is accurate? I mean, we could start by just pulling a figure out of thin air, or we could consider factors such as location, what is the proximity to amenities, transportation, schools, and desirable neighborhoods. Size and layout. Generally, larger properties with well thought out layouts tend to command higher prices. And then there's the condition. Is the property well maintained? A property in good nick will be valued higher than one needing significant repairs, unless of course someone is motivated by other factors like wanting to be in a particular location for personal reasons, or they fancy themselves as a bit of a property developer. Market conditions. The overall state of the real estate market, where you have to consider interest rates and economic trends, as these play a crucial role, unless of course you're looking at an area that is seen as a bit of a bubble, like central London. Supply and demand. Now, we touched on this briefly already. The basics are, if demand is high and the supply is low, then prices are driven upwards, creating a seller's market. But flip that round, if the demand is low, but the supply is high, then prices are reduced, creating a buyer's market. Comparables. Now, this is where you look at what similar properties in the local area are being priced at and have sold for. This can give you a benchmark for pricing. In my opinion, this is the most important factor. So let's get online and have a look at some comparables. So we're heading on to Rightmove. So we want for sale. And right, let's go. It says London. We're going to use our current location. Let's put 2 bedrooms minimum and 2 bathrooms minimum. We'll set our maximum price at 2.5 million, 3 million. It is a flat. It is a share of freehold. It does not have a garden or parking. And show me all. Let's search. Oh, straight away, not far from here on Dean Street, there is a 3-bedroom apartment for 2.4 million. 1,200 square foot, so it's slightly bigger. If we flick through the pictures, it's very spacious. But in my personal opinion, it is a very basic spec. This is over the 3rd and 4th floor. So this, in fact, is not the top of the building. Let's check the floor plan. And it has a very small terrace. So that's 2.4 million, but they have an additional bedroom and it's slightly bigger. We keep going. This apartment is a 2-bed down the road on Wardour Street. Whoa! There is another apartment in this building for sale. The plot thickens. No disrespect. It's on for 1.4 million. These are just my opinions. If you are the homeowner, I apologize sincerely. I mean nothing by what I'm saying. I'm just trying to get to the bottom of these values, and it is on a lower floor. It is not the same specification. The property has not been refurbished, so they still have all of the old timber windows. Let's have a look at the floor plan. Having a look at this circle here, this looks like what we have here on the corner of the building. Roughly the same size internally, but they do not have any outside square footage at all.
For clarity, I am not an estate agent or surveyor. I'm just using the resources we all have access to try and develop an understanding of property values in this particular area. Now, when comparing properties of different sizes in the same location, you can use a rough rule of thumb in some cases. So if this property is 1,061 square foot with an asking price of 1.4 million, we divide 1.4 million by 1,061, and this means that someone has valued the property at £1,320 per square foot if we round up. Now, this apartment is on a lower level. It is not newly refurbished, does not have the same specification, nor a private lift or outdoor space, which would all command a premium. Now, if we research rough averages in this area, it suggests prices between £1,500 and £2,500 per square foot. If we meet in the middle, the halfway point would be £2,000 per square foot, but let's be conservative and say £1,900 per square foot, and times this by the internal space of 915 square foot, which gives us a value of 1.7 million. Then we need to consider the outside space, which is 460 square foot. And for the purposes of this exercise, we'll value it lower than the internal space at 1,600 per foot, which gives us £736,000. If we add the two of them together, we have £2.5 million.
So in going through the comparables, I believe that we are there or thereabouts with the 2.5 million asking price if the property was for sale, which it isn't, or 2.5 million can be an opening offer, and then I guess owners and buyers could negotiate at that fee. I think to get into this a little bit more, you'd also have to look at the rental values and what this property could achieve on both long-term and short-term lets, because that could be incorporated into the overall sales price if it gave a fantastic yield on the investment. But I believe we are there or thereabouts with our £2.5 million valuation. As I said, any property is only worth what someone is willing to pay for it. And not all decisions in property are calculated and about adding value. Some are motivated by lifestyle and emotion. And of course, when refurbishing, converting, or extending a property, there's a cost associated. And depending on your requirements, you may not immediately have your investment value added to the value of the property. However, if your aim is to create a home which enhances your lifestyle and therefore your happiness, is this not the real value which you seek? The answer is no. If you are a property developer and it's all about cold, hard pounds, pence, and quick flips. But if you're a homeowner trying to create a blissful abode, then the answer may be yes. It's different horses for different courses, but sometimes the location, market, and home improvement all line up perfectly, giving you the best of all worlds, as we believe we have shown you here today. Thank you for watching. Let us know what you think of the refurbishment, the valuation, and the central London property market.